Assa Ender fought as an Israeli soldier in Lebanon, was wounded and lost much of his left leg. Frank Lindenbeck is a member of Germany's federal police. While deployed in Afghanistan, he witnessed awful things and narrowly escaped a bomb attack. Both men are taking part in the Invictus Games, a very special international sporting event. That's because all the competitors have been wounded while fighting for their country. This year, the Games are being held in Germany for the very first time. When 52-year-old Assa Ender opens the door to his workshop, it's like entering a small museum. For 20 years, the Israeli has been crafting wooden bows. He now has around 50 of them.
This one is the first one I built. It took me 3 years to build all the equipment in order to build the bow. And it took me a few months to build this bow. And on the first time that I pulled it, it blowed in my face, cut my face, which is called flat longbow.
Yet that didn't dissuade him. On the contrary, Assa Ender has earned a reputation throughout Israel as a bow expert. One of his bows even appears in a feature film.
Some people are shooting 2 hours a week. Okay, it's a nice sport. Okay, for me, it's my life. I'm trying to touch all the aspects: sport, guiding, building, instructing.
Once a week, Assa Ender coaches other archers. Almost all the members of the archery group are war veterans like him. They train in Tel Aviv's Beit Alochem, Hebrew for House of Warriors. It's a modern rehab center for disabled veterans and their families.
It used to be a saying in Israel that if to get wounded, then do it in the army and not on the road. And I'm telling you that if someone gets wounded, it better be in Israel and not in other countries. And there are always stuff to improve, but the treatment is pretty good.
Many of the veterans' war wounds are visible to this day. But whether they're blind, whether their injuries are psychological or physical, the center's more than 400 sports and leisure activities mean there's something for everyone. This is one of 4 such centers in Israel. They're mainly funded through donations, though the state covers some of the costs. The centers should be like a second home for disabled vets and their families, says the chairman of the Zahal Disabled Veterans Organization, Idan Kleiman.
This is the whole meaning of Beit Lochem. This is the whole essence. Providing the team, providing the shoulder. You're not alone. From the minute you go to this gate of Beit Lochem, you're part of a team.
Kleiman is pleased that his country is now part of the growing Invictus family, and especially that Israel is making its debut in Germany.
The first time Israel is competing in Invictus, it's in Germany. I think it's something very special. I'm a person that believes in fixing stuff, in go forward. And I think the bonding now between Israel and Germany is something that's very important for history.
Frank Lindenbeck shares a special bond with his dog, Goofy, and believes he wouldn't be doing so well without him. The 56-year-old German federal police officer returned from his 3rd tour of duty in Afghanistan in 2019. Back home in Cologne, he soon realized that something wasn't right. He suffered from severe mood swings. His wife, Steffi, barely recognized him.
It was a gradual process. When he was home on leave, he seemed mentally absent. He was really irritable. Even a fly on the wall bothered him. The kids only had to say good morning and the day was ruined.
During that time, Goofy became a vital source of support.
He had to listen to a lot when we go out on walks. After my diagnosis, when I was at home and not doing well, I think if he could write, he'd have been able to write a whole book about it. Maybe even a bestseller. Good thing he can't write.
Gut, dass nie schreiben kann.
Later, a doctor would diagnose Frank Lindenbeck with post-traumatic stress disorder. While he's not yet fully recovered, Lindenbeck's PTSD is now largely under control, in part thanks to Goofy.
He played a huge part because he was always there. And because he motivated me to once again be the person I wanted to be, the old Frank.
Lindenbeck's fateful third deployment to Afghanistan began in October 2017. At the time, he was head of security at the Bundeswehr military camp in Kabul. The first tragedy occurred shortly after his arrival.
I can talk about it, that's not a problem. But looking at that picture, I notice how it affects me. Our boss back then committed suicide.
Why remains unclear. Lindenbeck was one of the first on the scene.
I saw it all. I saw what a person looks like who shot himself. In the head. And I still see that image before me.
A few months later, Lindenbeck narrowly escaped an attack on the camp because he was in the kitchen making coffee when the truck bomb exploded near his portable office.
They figured the truck was carrying 1.5 tons of explosives.
While he returned physically unharmed, his horrifying experiences followed him home to Germany.
I'd be sitting here in the living room, like where I am now, watching TV, when my wife dropped a plate or cup in the kitchen. A split second later, I'd come to and realize I was 1 meter or 1.5 meters away from the table, wanting to arm myself and put my vest on. I realized my body was still in Kabul, or better put, my mind was, and it reacted the way it should have and needed to in Kabul, but I just couldn't switch that off.
Assa Ender also knows what it feels like when harmless situations trigger extreme reactions. He lives with his wife and 4 daughters on the outskirts of Tel Aviv. His family has learned to watch out for certain things.
The girls always know that they will never stand behind me without saying, "Daddy, I'm behind you. Daddy, I'm behind you."
Ender says he's doing really well these days, despite all the terrible things he experienced as a soldier.
Losing my leg wasn't the only traumatic experience that I had in the army, and maybe even not the worst one, okay?
Over 30 years have passed since then. An old photo album reminds Assa Ender of the days when he still had 2 intact legs and was a paratrooper in the Israeli army. Still, he doesn't mourn the loss of his lower leg, even if living with a prosthesis isn't always easy.
Sometimes you say, yeah, it's pretty but if I could, but it's part of my personality now. It's more years after than before. And yeah, let's say if you would bring a magic stick and say, okay, now throw the prosthetic leg and you have a, I wouldn't do it. Yeah, because this is me today.
Several times a week, he practices at an archery range in the south of Tel Aviv with bows designed for sports competitions. He saves the ones he's carved himself for traditional archery tournaments. In archery, the key to hitting the bullseye is to focus on the target and block out everything else. Ender employs a similar strategy in the rest of his life to not dwell on his fate.
You start to practice your mind to be silent and your body to be relaxed. And it helped me a lot to loosen up, to let off some of the energy, the negative energy inside, to let it go.
These days, he rarely misses his lower left leg. He says having a right leg is more important when driving a car, for instance. Though, since he's right-footed, archery is the exception to the rule.
In archery, 60% of the weight is on the left leg when you shoot. So only archery, it's better to lose the right one and not the left one.
Assa Ender is fairly pleased with today's training session, though he aims to up his game by the time the Invictus Games roll around in a few months.
We are not in wonderful shape, but we're starting to be okay for this part of the training.
For Frank Lindenbeck and his teammates, the final spurt has already begun, complete with a group photo and battle cry.
Team Germany, hold for respect!
With the Invictus Games in Düsseldorf just a few weeks away, the German team gathers at the Bundeswehr's sports school in Warendorf. Most of the 38 athletes have mental health issues rather than physical ones. So for many playing wheelchair basketball, the wheelchair is just a piece of sports equipment. Here, the Invictus Games participants work on their technical and tactical skills in various disciplines. But the main focus is to improve their mental strength, says team psychologist Katja Shadow.
It's about motivating themselves to master challenges they might otherwise not have dared to. It's about being proud of what they've achieved and developing self-confidence again. And of course, it's about being able to deal with failures and injuries.
Frank
Lindenbeck plays on the sitting volleyball team. He says whether their impairments are physical or psychological, whether they're police officers or soldiers, the sense of solidarity within the Invictus team is special.
We all have similar emotional baggage to carry. Most of us were injured on a foreign deployment, so we understand one another. You know that everyone here has the same thing you do. And playing a team sport together on top of that bonds you even more.
For Frank Lindenbeck, how far his team can go in the tournament isn't so important. He's just happy they have the chance to represent the host nation in Düsseldorf.
It'll be overwhelming, as the German team playing a home game with a home crowd will be huge.
At the sitting volleyball team's opening match against Nigeria, the stands are far from full, maybe due to the 9 a.m. start. Still, the Germans are raring to go. Lindenbeck gives some last-minute instructions and then the game begins. At first, the German team can keep pace, but then the Nigerians turn up the heat to take the first set. And the second one, too.
Germany 13, Nigeria 18.
A German serve that's out of bounds gives the Nigerians the win in the opening match. Frank Lindenbeck takes it in stride.
Defeated? Maybe for a brief moment when the final whistle blew. Otherwise, not at all. The Nigerian team was really good. We put up a fight, we tried. They were better.
Assa Ender wants to avoid starting his tournament with a loss. He hopes to go far, maybe even secure a place on the podium.
Israel's Assa Ender.
Ender says archery is mainly a mind game, and he feels mentally strong.
The thing that encouraged me more than anything is that this competition depends only on myself, because in training I did well. The fight is against yourself. You cannot affect what others will do.
Despite finishing fourth in the preliminaries, he wasn't satisfied with his performance.
I had a very good start, and then something happened. I lost concentration. We replaced the face on the target because it was too ruined, and from then I started diving.
In the quarterfinal, Ender faces off against a Romanian who's ahead of him. To have any hope of clinching a medal, he must ace his next shot. Assa Ender hit the bullseye. But in the end, the Romanians still retained a slight lead. Ender's medal hopes have come to an end.
Good match. Good match.
Yeah. A little bit disappointed. I could do better. But I did my best, really. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the German sitting volleyball players have made it into the quarterfinals. They'll play Poland. This time, Frank's wife Steffi and daughter Angie are looking on. So is Britain's Prince Harry, the founder and patron of the Invictus Games. The Germans put up a good fight, but in the end, they're no match for Poland, who go on to win the tournament. Even though the home team lost, nothing could spoil the good mood in the jam-packed hall.
It was absolutely amazing. We showed what we can do. We played with heart and soul, we had fun. We wanted to show that once again, for the spectators and for us. The better team won, but we gave them a run for their money.
And they were all winners in the battle against their own physical and mental trauma.
You cry, you're happy, you cheer, you're disappointed. It's a roller coaster and a really good exercise for those with PTSD. But mainly it's about sticking together as a team. It shows us all there's a way out, life goes on.
On the last day of competition, our German and Israeli protagonists finally get the chance to meet.
Nice to meet you too.
It's a pleasure for me.
For me too. The greatest thing was the meeting with the German people. Yeah. It was very warm.
That's what we hope.
Yeah, really.
Frank Lindenbeck and Assa Ender have fought their way back to life, and sports helped them do it. During their week in Düsseldorf, they earned respect and recognition for their service, which has left its mark on them and all the others here.